Hello students, welcome to e-learning, and we are continuing the third lecture of the second chapter, that is fundamental concept and terminology. Today we are going to study about types of changes, what do you mean by trade cycle, their definition, and the different phases of trade cycle. So these are the three topics for our chapter today which we are going to learn. Now let's start with the changes, types of changes. Now what are changes? You find that economic activity goes through phases of dynamic changes, like human goes through some changes. Like we all find there is a fundamental change comes from when we are born, when you are baby child, when we become a teenager, there is a fundamental change. From teenager to adult, there is again a fundamental change happening up in our human life, in our individual life. So you find that like that same type, you find that changes are occurring in economy also. So in all that economy, you find that what are the changes happening. Let's study with that. The first change is irregular changes. Irregular changes are, these are the accidental changes that occurs in an economy. In economic activity, in a business form of life, you find that accidental things are happening up. If suppose there is a business, you find there are some chances of short circuit, fire, then after flood, famines, storm, all this natural or different things can be happening up for a particular economy, and that changes, such accident changes which occurs, which impact the economic activity in a short run, or for, we can say, for a longer period of time. So this affects the economy for a longer period of time, or either we can say shorter period of time. Mostly it is for shorter period of time, some only can go for longer period of time. So it is called irregular changes, some accidental thing which affects the economy, like this all natural calamities, or we can say man-made calamities. Then after you find that the second changes, that is the seasonal changes. Now as we have four types of season mainly, we can find that is from winter, then after summer, then after monsoon, and then after spring, and again we can find again some winter. So like this changes which are happening up, seasonally changes which are happening up. Same way you find the changes regularly occurs in economic activity, like change with the changing seasons. As the season changes, you find that economic activities also find changes. Now as we demand different goods, different things with different seasons, so here also demand for certain goods also changes by season to season, and you find according to that production and employment are being changed. According to that you find there is a production is being done. According to that you find that people, laborers are employed or unemployed. So like that we find that seasonal changes occur. For example, in summer season we try to consume more of cold drinks, more of ice creams, more of the things which are gives us like some of the chilling things which we get. So all that demand, all that particular things are being demanded more, for that production should be done more, and for more production of that particular product, we find that more peoples are being hired for doing that particular, for producing that particular products, so that we can say it can gives employment in that particular period. So different skilled laborers are employed for different time to time. So this seasonal changes occurs. So third type of change, that is long run changes. Now long run regular changes. Now some changes occurs in a given direction in form of trends. Now some of the changes happening up, and that happens for a longer period of time in a particular business, that calls, that we can say it shows a trend. It we can say for a longer period of time the changes are being analyzed, that we can think. So you find that for here example has been taken up like sales trend. Now what is sales trend? You find that particular in an economy, so how much goods are being sold by industrial sector from that particular, like we can say from 1990 till 2010. So over the period of 20 years, how many goods have been sold by the industrial sector, it has been produced and sold. So that particular thing can be measured. So growth, like same way like production of agriculture sector which has been there, so we can measure. So it shows the trends of that particular sector. So some same way it should help us to identify what all changes have came up, what are the different types of changes happen in a longer period of time. So that are some regular changes which happen, we get to know. Then after we find that cyclic changes. Cyclical changes, like we can say dynamic fluctuations. What is dynamic? Dynamic meaning means Suppose in agriculture sector production is less, it affects the whole industrial sector to produce less amount of goods. If less amount of goods has been there, so less amount of transportation, everything, service sector requires less. So you find that it affects the whole economy. Same way, some of the factors which happens in an economy gives dynamic fluctuation. It gives what? Dynamic fluctuation. So it, for a long period of time, leads to rise and fall in growth. So growth rate of economy will either rise because of that change or either fall because of that particular changes. So that particular thing, that particular changes is called cyclical change. So here, to understand this cyclical change, they have given trade cycle, because in trade cycle there is a cyclical change which is happening. Now let's understand the trade cycle. Now trade cycle means what? According to how trade, you find that trade cycles are the continuous phase of good and bad changes occurring in the economy. So in the economy you find that there are certain good changes, there are bad changes which are happening continuously. It is not like good happen then after bad happen it finished. No, it is like continuously. If good time comes, then after bad time comes, then again bad time, you find good times come. So good bad, it's going on. So that, like that, changes happening up. These are the phases of an trade cycle, or we can say business cycle, which are occurring in an economy. So it shows the continuous changes happening in an economy. According to, we can say, Haber, you find trade cycle is an interval that embraces, or it shows, alternating period of prosperity and depression. Now same meaning he has given up. It shows that it is an interval. It shows different interval, different time period there is a prosperity was going, different time period it was a depression going on. So one interval, second interval, third interval, fourth interval. So like that, different interval, what thing was happening up, it shows that particular interval. Now prosperity means nothing but we can say it is a good time or good changes happening up, and depression means nothing but a bad changes or bad time which was going on in an economy. So same thing is being told up here. Now you have to remember both this particular meaning for examination. Now let's study about the characteristics. Now what all things which we can know from characteristics? First, we can say they depict dynamic changes. They are based on dynamic changes. Now because this fall and rise in economy, it affects the economy for a longer period of time. For example, now current situation, if you see, you find that everywhere there is a lockdown going on, there is a depression, everything. So many of the countries started, but many countries are under still lockdown. So you'd find that it affected the economy so hard. It is a depression period which has been going on, and to recover that particular thing which is happening up. So it is a dynamic, fundamental changes occurs in the depression period which has been going on in economy. Second, they depicts the positive and negative changes. It shows us the good things and the negative changes happening in an economy. What are the good changes happen and what are the bad changes happen in an economy? It shows that particular thing. Then after, you find that this arises because of several factors. Now this is because of the different external factors which is happening. Now what our economy is facing because of this particular coronavirus, it is an external factor which is happening. So like that, different other factors like economically, politically, some of the policies or some of the government rules, some of the technological factor, it affects the economy. So all these different factors are there which affects the economy, and this is why you find there is a dynamic change happen. Lastly, the characteristics says the trade cycle have various phases. It is not having only one thing, it has different phases too. So each phases does not last for a uniform period. Each phases are not for, like, suppose 5 years or 20 years finish, again after 20 years same thing happen. No, it is depending upon the situation, depending upon the factors which are affecting, depending upon the business which is there. So you find that this is how it has been going up. So trade cycle have several phases. It is not only good and bad, but it shows good and bad, but there are few different phases also. Now I hope you have been clear with this. Let's go to the move to the phases of trade cycle. Now generally there are 4 phases which can be understood with the help of a chart, we can say. Now on the x-axis you find that number of years are taken. Now as in the last point of characteristics says, every period is not for a longer period of time, that's why here only number of years are written, not fixed period. and same way on the y-axis you find the level of business activities are there. Now here you find in a diagram there is a one straight line which is going on, and there is a curves which are being drawn. Now we are going to learn about these curves on that what are written. So these are nothing but the phases of trade cycle. Now first phase is talks about boom period. Now boom period is nothing but we can say an economy when economic activities reaches to the maximum growth level in a given time period and demands are peak. Demands are peak means demand are more, or it is high, it is highest. So that income and so gives income and profit is also high, and because of this demand you find that income is also high and profits are also high. So that particular period is called as boom period, or we can say peak period. So you find that suppose in an economy everything is going well, everything is demanded more, everything is sale more, every person's income is increasing, every person's are employed, everything is happening up. So you find that this economy from here, it's from here it reaches to the boom period where everything at its highest thing, demand, profit, income, employment, investment, everything is at the highest point of time. So that economy shows it is a boom period, it is a good period which is going on, it is a prosperity period which is happening up in an economy. But after that what is happening, the demand for that particular product decrease. So when economic is the highest speed, it gives in a given period investment, employment is also more, like full employment can be seen, reaches to the highest possible level and a slowdown occurs. You find that there is a slowly reduction occurs because it cannot stay for a longer period of time as it is a various phases. So you find that everything does not last for long. We can say the highest person, the highest richest person in the world also you find varies from months to months or quarters to quarters, or we can say years to years. So this is how here in a business, in a particular one business also happens, its products reaches to the highest, it is demand more, and after some time you find it slowly that particular product will get downward sloping. So here you find the demand decreases. So when demand decreases you find that investment also decrease. People will stop investing in that particular market shares, and you find that because of that when production demand is decreased, the supply also should be reduced. If demand is more, then only supply should increase. Suppose if demand is less and production is more, what will happen, it become the company will face losses. So this particular thing happens. So we have to, as per the demand, we have to produce goods and the supply will reduce. When supply will reduce you find that employment, the people which we require will also become less. So we need to remove certain people from that particular business. So it creates a unemployment we can say. So all these things if happen, what will happen, the particular thing, this particular income will become less, profit will become less, you find that demands are less. So all these things happen because of this particular things. Then after, when everything is less but it is not at zero, it is like here in a particular straight line which is a equilibrium point. So it is like it came to the down zero level, not zero level, it is came to the point where it is neither profit nor loss, everything became to the zero time we can say. Then after the third phase come, when what will happen, further there is a fall in price, there is a fall in demand, there is a fall in everything, because if demand is less, supply is less, the price will become also less, and when price will become less, people will think that this particular product is priced less, it will not give that much quality, and it shift to the higher price products, same identical product. So like that will happen. Again with the fall in demand, production also falls. The production falls, you find that now the expenses becomes more, production falls, employment also fall, peoples are being removed from that particular business because it is already going in losses. So no, to overcome in further losses they will remove the people so that they no need to give salaries to them. So all these things happen and there is a reduction in demand for every product. And after that you find that when it reaches the minimum level, that circumstances is nothing but we can say depression. So that type of period is called as what, depression in an economy or in a particular business where it is at its minimum we can see. So depression is caused. Now this is where you find that there are many companies which occurs in losses that time. Now what will happen next? The next fourth phases come, that is recovery. As this depression also does not last for a longer period of time. It might be for a longer, we can say 1 or 2 years, but it cannot last for longer period of time. As we have seen depression for one, like we happened, that is in 2008 2009. So like that things also happen, and it affects the business of that particular, yeah, affects the economy of that particular country. And we find that that was a very horrible thing which happened in 2008 and 9. So it was a good it was a great depression happened. Now after that time, what happened in 2010? Again it was in depression. No, that came a recovery stage. So when depression lasts for some time, it is not for long, but it starts for some time, the suppressed demand, the demand which has been fallen down in this particular depression time, recession time, that starts emerging. That starts emerging in the sense that it start growing up. Again government also tries to boost that with the help of doing investment. Governments provide employment. Governments try to start with new projects where employment is been done. When employment is been done, production is done. Production is done, the demand will increase because the people income will increase. So all this different, all the factors will start growing up because it is a dynamic change. If one factor starts, another factor also starts. So it is how it grows with everyone. So certain time you find technological changes also happen in the long run, and due to technology also you find this type of changes also happen, and this leads to the recovery of the demand of employment as well as investment. So after depression you find slowly that the demand will increase after some time. Then after, government also helps with different policies to increase the demand, and you find that it reach to the equilibrium point, or you can say it reach to the balance point here. And then after you find again this particular will go, when demand will reach high, it can attain boom period. Why? Because it is a continuous phase of good and bad situation which we have studied. So trade cycle, it is a continuous phase, so again it will come with a boom period, recession, depression again. So like this it goes on in an economy. So this is how you find that trade cycle happens. So slowly everything like employment, demand, investment will increase, and it becomes here again. If suppose it increase furthermore, it again can reach to the boom period again. So like this, what economic situation, business cycle is all about, and it happens in economy. So I hope you have been very clear with the this type of business cycle, trade cycle which has been there. It is very easy to understand, and this current situation has brought us into the recession and depression period. Now it's the time for recovery to start. Like hope so we can recover everything which we have lost in few months, the losses which happened to the many companies in an economy. GDP has gone to zero, everything which happened. So like this cycles happens, and which has been happening up. So this is how in economy it happens. I hope you have been very clear. You have to write down the notes, you have to study it well, you have to just remember the concept, and it is very easy. Now further we'll study in our third chapter, that is demand. We'll study about how this particular demand goes on in an economy. What is everything about demand we are going to learn in that particular third chapter. Thank you for today.